This is Barbara Ann Rosenberg, your roving reporter. And today, this time, we're going to take you to Alaska, different part of the world from what we've ever been or ever seen. On a gorgeous cruise ship, the Celebrity Line Galaxy. And then later in the voyage, not only are we going to see wonderful things, we're going to eat wonderful things, because in Juneau, part of the way up, well, we're only going to the southeast part of Alaska, by the way, not the whole state. But we're going to meet up with a Michelin 3-star chef who's going to come on board, and he's going to provision, he's going to buy some fish. I want you to see, just as Alaska is a giant state, these are giant fish. Come along and enjoy. Standing here right in the middle of Vancouver, we can look down at Canada Place, the ship dock where our wonderful ship is going to come in, the Galaxy, a brand new ship about to take its maiden voyage to Alaska. And we will be on it. That is, if we can get the next few blocks, and we're about to do that now. We'll see you on board. And here we are at the pier, just waiting to board the Galaxy. I want you to take a look at her. She's 15 stories high. 15. That's 15 stories high. Holds 1,700 people. And we're in this beautiful new cruise terminal here in Vancouver. You can see how long she is, how high she is. Did you, by any chance, note these lifeboats? They're pretty different from the old-fashioned ones where they had oars and so forth. These are like small ships themselves. Oh well, let's go on board. I'm sure it's going to be lovely when we get there too. Now we are in the harbor, on the ship, on board, on the 12th floor. Can you believe it? 12th deck. Oh right, I'm not very nautical, and I made a very serious mistake when I told you there were 1,700 passengers accommodated on this ship. It's 1,900. I didn't want to make it sound as if it were a little cheesy ship when it holds 1,900 people. Good grief, I've lived in cities that are, towns that are smaller than that, but it is gorgeous, and you see the city in the background. And just in case you think the weather is always wonderful here in Vancouver, well, it isn't, but it's going to be okay as we take off from Vancouver, headed for the North Passage. And when we are leaving here, with all the excitement and the whistles blowing and something, we'll come back in. But I thought you might like to see how beautiful this cruise terminal is here in Vancouver. Well, folks, we missed the whistle. It went and just blew toot toot, and off we took. But you can see everyone lined up along the sides here, and we're leaving. And people here are kind of bundled up. Some of them even had deck blankets around them. It's a little chilly here, but the sky isn't all that bad, and at least it isn't raining. Now we'll go and look at another aspect of shipboard life. And while most people are bundled up and have on regular jackets of some kind or another, we are, after all, headed for Alaska, there's a couple of people, fools I was going to say, out there stripping, I don't know, for the camera, getting into the whirlpool. You got to take advantage of everything while you're on board, I guess. And we get a happier perspective as we pull away from the dock with the city in the background. It really is a very startling sight, this Vancouver. And I'm sure we're going to see much more startling scenery as we get to Alaska. As I said, tomorrow's at sea. I don't know what we'll have for you all along the way. This is quite typical of the scenery along the inside passage, at least as far as we've come. It's been kind of a dreary day, but the sun has broken through, and the sky is clear blue, as you can see. It's very densely forested in here, and the scenery all the way along has been simply beautiful, gentle. We're not at the high peaks now. We'll show you a peek at those when we get to the peaks. How's that? We're still in the inside passage, still in British Columbia, and passing by an area where obviously you can see that we're in snow-capped mountains, but this little narrow area where we are, almost like a canal, is so deep. Where we're going right now, here it's about 300 feet deep, although you can see little outcroppings of land close by. It's the most breathtaking day-long journey. I said it's like being in Maine on a lake for hours and hours and hours, only there's no snow caps peering down on. We are in Alaska now, getting close to the mouth of Glacier Bay and coming into some scenery that's almost eerie, almost unbelievable as you look at it. The low-hanging fog, it was totally covered in fog earlier, with the snow-capped mountains behind it and the wonderful green, dense forest in front of it. It's simply breathtaking, and I'm sure we're going to see more. Still aboard the Celebrity Cruise Line Galaxy, going through Glacier Bay. And I guess I'm standing in front of some glacier or another, not exactly sure of the name of this one, but it reminds me of when we were in the Himalayas and we took pictures of every single peak and got home and couldn't remember the name of one from another. So anyway, just know what a glacier looks like. This is a full-fledged one. Pardon me, sir? And these are some little icebergs that have chipped off. I guess they do all along. I think they call it calving, C-A-L-V-I-N-G, as in giving birth to a calf. However, I hope we don't meet one like the Titanic did. Just little ones like this are kind of cozy. Here we are at the edge of Skagway, and by the way, Skagway means land of the north winds in Inuit. That's an Eskimo language. So every time you hear every time you hear Skagway, you'll remember the wind that we've been experiencing here today. I think the mean is 40 miles an hour. In any event, we're going into the Historic District, which is one of the National Park Service areas. So let's go walk down the main street and see what it looks like. And if you're wondering what kind of snow they get here in Skagway, well, that is the snowplow. They must have some pretty monumental drifts to get through with that thing. Wow. This is 1997, in spite of the fact that there are those horses and buggies and people dressed like that. I think they do it for the tourists, just like they do in Philadelphia. These are different kind of buggies, a little later in time, around the time of the gold rush. And see that Camp Skagway? That's all made out of, I don't know, driftwood or something. It's now a museum. And across from here, from where we're standing, is the Red Onion Saloon. That was the most famous of all the brothels. Yes, they had brothels here for all the gold miners who were stuck up there in the hills, and when they came back in town, they wanted gals who were going to be doing can-cans and other things. And I think this is where Soapy Smith, who was one of the great bandits of the time, was done in a gunfight. I'm not exactly sure of the history. I don't think it's that important, but it is a little bit interesting. Where do you come from when you're not playing the piano here in Skagway?
Santa Fe, New Mexico.
And what's your name?
Chris.
Would you like to say hello to the people in Philadelphia, Chris? Thank you. Played here very long?
I played up here half of last summer. I'll be here all summer this year.
Fascinating area. Well, we're inside the Red Onion now, and it's as busy now almost as it was back then, but we're hoping that Soapy Smith doesn't show up, or his ghost, in order to get slain again. Just so you didn't think I was joshing, I want you to look carefully at this sign over here that says Gold Rush Brothel. Restoration in progress. I don't know what they're doing, but it's okay. And here's some clothing that was worn in those Gold Rush days. And just in case you're wondering what is it that gave the women those gorgeous figures with those little tiny waists, there it is, up there with all the strings. Good God, you'd have to be pretty uncomfortable wearing that. Well, I guess this is one of the major things we came for. We're on top of a glacier here with about a glacier behind us that's higher than the Empire State Building. A few other people here with us. What an adventure this is. This is what Alaska is all about. That's the kind of helicopter that brought us here, and hopefully will take us back. You can see the rugged terrain that we're in southeast Alaska. Good grief, this is part of the United States. And this, whipping around in front of me, is the Alaska state flag. And with it are the stars of Orion's belt. And then there's an eighth one. I'll have to tell you what that means in a minute. And it was designed by a student in a contest. And it's really a very striking flag. What do you say? Well, we have the North Star in there too. Someone just explained to me. And whether it's the Small Dipper, and maybe it's the same thing, the Small Dipper and the stars in Orion's belt. I was never very good in astronomy. And you're looking at the West Creek Valley Glacier. That thing that's higher than the Empire State Building. Seems hard to believe. And that's what's feeding the glacier that we're on, that we're standing on. It is truly awesome. Awesome to stand up here at high elevation where this is constantly moving, constantly changing, constantly, well, in motion. It seems sort of strange. It feels pretty rooted to the ground to me. But evidently these glaciers are changing all the time. They're being fed by the Chilcot glacial field high in the mountains, higher than this. And it's flowing downstream, which is what looks, you see that funny thing that looks like it's all broken up. Well, it's in motion. And here with me today is Michael Scanlon, who was with the Temsco helicopters that brought us up here, and I said, and hopefully will return us to the ship. But in the meantime, I'm going to ask him, who's an expert, Michael, what is it that causes these jagged peaks, and what are they called?
They're known as seracs. The seracs are caused by the brittle flow of the upper layer of the glacial ice actually breaking and splitting apart as they flow downhill. Anytime you have an uneven flow of the glacial ice, you'll get all these separations.
Michael, tell me, where do you come from?
I'm originally from New York, but I'm up here in beautiful Skagway for the summer and working for Temsco as a glacier guide.
And this is a totem pole in Alaska, of course. Where else? We have them in British Columbia, and we have them in Canada, Washington State. But this one is something about a killer whale legend, and the seals and some grandmother who said, you know, the killer whales aren't the only ones who are hungry. I can't make sense out of it, but it is a pretty totem pole. This is Franklin Street in Juneau, capital of the state of Alaska. And it used to be open 24 hours a day. Now it's kind of busy when there are cruise ships in, and there are 2 great big ones. So the town doesn't double in size when you get cruise ships in, but it grows a lot. I'm standing here close to the Red Dog Saloon, which is one of the main places that stayed open 24 hours a day for the miners and everybody else who wanted to have fun. We're going to go check it out from inside. I'm going to have a halibut burger. I understand they're better than hamburgers. I'll let you know after I have one. And here are a couple of guys, and I want you to notice that they ask you, gents, to check your sidearms before you go into the Red Dog Saloon. What's your name?
My name's Murray.
My name's Kevin.
And you are from?
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Both of them, what do you think of that? They're from Canada, and they've come all the way up here to the US of A. Let's go in and check out how wild and woolly it is.
Hi, Philadelphia.
Hello, Philadelphia.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Hello, Philadelphia. City of brotherly love.
City of brotherly love from?
Whom? Me. I'm Art Sabarsky from
In
Celebrity
Juneau.
Cruises. In Juneau, Alaska.
In the Red
Dog.
Saloon. We have just arrived by bush plane. I didn't know what a bush plane was until we took off on it. It's a seaplane, a lovely high wing thing so you can see all the way. And we came over, guess what, some more glaciers. And this is the Taku River Glacier behind me, but it's on open water, and we're going to a lodge where I believe they're going to cook some salmon for us. So let's go check it out. And as we're coming up here, approaching the Taku Lodge for our salmon feast, you see that this is bear country, and there are warnings not to feed the bears. I'll try to remember that. We're at the Taku Glacier Lodge, and we're going to watch some salmon being cooked. I just ate some and know how delicious it is. You call it barbecued salmon? How do you actually prepare it?
Grilled salmon.
Grilled
Mm-hmm.
But you brush something that makes it taste so healthy.
It's a base of brown sugar, butter, white wine, and lemon juice.
Well, it is really good. What's your name, sir?
Ron.
Ron?
Ron.
Ron.
Mhm.
How long have you been up in Taku?
3 years.
Full time?
Yep.
All year long?
I leave a little bit in the winter, and but I'm up here about 8 months.
Now, tell us about this salmon.
It's a king salmon.
big.
Probably about a 30-pound, and have it flown in from Sitka.
So it's open ocean.
It's
salmon.
ocean caught. Yeah, I prefer the ocean caught. As far as grilling goes, it's easier to grill.
But king salmon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
About how big do those run?
Oh, they get up 60, 70 pounds. Not bad.
Little ones. Why don't we bring one home for dinner? Look at the color of this salmon. It is simply gorgeous. And he rubbed 2 of those sticks together that you see behind you to make the fire.
Yes.
All right, Ron, thanks so much
Certainly.
for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
I wish everybody was here to have some of it. And why are we all out here the first thing in the morning?
Yes.
We came because Chef, le grand chef, Michel Roux, is here to select the fish that we're going to eat later today.
Yes.
What are our choices?
Well, look at that lovely link cod. I mean, look at that.
Looks like a fish.
It is. And it's not a small one. Hey. We've got beautiful salmon,
Yes?
halibut, red snapper, and much more. We've got oysters, but the oyster will be there later.
Oh, they are not here now. You see, in this community, you don't go to the fish market comes to you. And now,
careful.
whoa,
Yeah.
we're going to have a chance to look at a halibut. Man, that is a fish. About how heavy is that?
Almost my weight, isn't it?
And this is one of the pretty little salmon that come out of the local waters. And there he is showing it off, but he's going to cook it for us later, so we'll enjoy all the fish. Well, we're standing in the town of Ketchikan, pretty far south in Alaska, and you can see there's much less snow here, but it's usually kind of dreary like this. Thoughtful, you might want to think of it as. Usually rainy, and today is no exception. Well, it's not really raining, but it's gray and misty, as you can see, and it gives a very different mood to this area. Let's go look at the town. Well, right here on the creek, it gives its name to this whole area, the street, and it was a notorious red light district. Sporting women, I think they called it, plied their trade here. And right now, one of the buildings has been turned into an FOE, Fraternal Order of Eagles, different kind of eagles than you usually see here in Alaska, where they have the big national symbol, the bald eagle. We are now in the kitchen, in the bowels of the ship, in the kitchen, and Monsieur Roux, Chef Roux, has just joined us, joined the ship. He came on board in Juneau. We're in Ketchikan. This is the Galaxy, but Chef Wu is the executive chef of all of the celebrity cruise lines. So if you come on board, at least you're going to have something that he's ordered and scripted, put together.
Are they local oyster from chicken?
From Ketchikan.
Yes.
Are they big or?
And I tell you, they're small. You look at them, they're delicate. Look at them, they're beautiful. They're full of life. I don't like dead oysters. I like them live.
We're going to have a live. I'm going to have a live one too. Very.
And that
good.
is the beginning. Here we are right now. We're in the pantry area, where obviously we get all our little cold starter, all the salad are prepared. You've got 14 people working just in the pantry area. You've got 110 chefs working in the whole galley. And as you can see, everyone's getting busy, but everything is tidy. Nice, clean, and tidy.
Very tidy.
Most important.
100% was the USDA.
100 score.
100. It clean indeed.
On our first trip, on our first cruise, on our first visit, we score on both ships 100 score.
What's
It's
the
never
other
happened.
ship?
That was the Galaxy and the Century
And Century.
when they were at sea. The first on their first cruise.
And then we have a few extra little things, a little foie gras.
That's the little foie gras. That's the little cheesy one with cucumber. That's the seafood, fresh king crab, Alaska king crab with a little mayonnaise sauce, smoked salmon, lovely little prawn. Look at those
kind of
beautiful little
caviar?
prawns.
How am
Don't
I
they
going to
look
be
nice?
difficult?
Eh?
I'm going to be difficult. What kind of caviar are we having?
Now, we've got the sevruga. We can't have the beluga, as people eat too much beluga. To give them sevruga, they eat a bit less. We're not mean, but we've got to be careful.
A little.
We give
otherwise,
caviar with not a ladle,
You know,
but with a
Monsieur
spoon.
Gaillot and I
Yes.
would eat our weight in caviar.
I'm
You'd
sure you will.
probably join us.
I'm sure I will, and I will too. Yes.
And this little area is called the Daily Wine Cellar. I guess we're not getting into the very elegant wines, but the stuff they have on a daily basis is pretty nice. This is a Morgon, which is a more upscale Beaujolais, but much more upscale. It comes from the same area, but it's a heavier and more beautiful wine. So you can see, I think there's enough here to keep you busy for a while. Yes. Now we're going to do a wine tasting. We've looked at all the wines, at least the everyday wines. Now we're going to do a wine tasting of all Chardonnays. You see them all lined up there. Chablis and Mercury. No, not Mercury. Merceau. Lovely, lovely white wines, both from France and from the United States. So we'll see what this Chardonnay grape is all about. Very soon, this beautiful galaxy is going to pull away from Alaska, from Ketchikan, from this lovely harbor that was so socked in with rain that we could hardly, well, I didn't. I stayed in a lot of this afternoon, but now you can see the sun is coming out and there's somebody paddling in a kayak, and you can see what the wilderness is like here and where little houses are. And there are even a bunch of sailboats here in the bay. So you get the idea that it's not always gloomy here in Ketchikan. Evidently it rains a little more here than in some other places, but gosh, when the sun comes out, it makes up for it. Smoked salmon is a specialty here, and as you saw, salmon on the hoof in its raw state, and other fish as well. It's been an absolutely glorious time. We hope we'll do some other things that you'll like equally well. But in the meantime, Alaska has been an adventure. I must say that Alaska was thrilling. That experience of walking on the glacier and seeing many other glaciers along the way was totally awesome. You know, the kids say awesome. Well, I know now what it really means, because the trip along the Inside Passage was beautiful. The foliage or the greenery was gorgeous. But seeing those glaciers up close was simply, no other word for it, awesome. And so was the food that Michelle Wu prepared for us on board the ship. I hope you had as good a time as we did, because I think you get the message. It was wonderful. Alaska was sensational. I hope we'll have as good places to take you next time. And even if they're not as exotic, we'll have a good time together, won't we? This is Barbara Ann Rosenberg, your roving reporter, saying so long for now.